The U.S. has killed 11 narco-terrorists in a lethal strike against a drug vessel in the southern Caribbean Sea. President Trump made that announcement from the Oval Office on Tuesday, later confirmed by Marco Rubio. He later confirmed in a Truth Social post that no U.S. forces were harmed and the criminals were positively identified as Tren de Aragua narco-terrorists.
We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela, so we took it out.
And the president said the strike serves as a notice to anyone even thinking about bringing drugs into America. Secretary of State Rubio says the president has made it very clear that days of acting with impunity are over, and the U.S. is going to wage combat against cartels killing Americans. Take a listen.
These particular drugs were probably headed to Trinidad or some other country in the Caribbean, at which point they just contribute to the instability these countries are facing. So the president's been very clear that he's going to use the full power of America and the full might of the United States to take on and eradicate these drug cartels, no matter where they're operating from and no matter how long they've been able to act with impunity. Those days are over.
And this comes as the U.S. is boosting Navy presence near Venezuela to bolster America's strategic position in the fight against drug cartels. The Trump administration remains confident the Supreme Court will uphold President Trump's power to impose tariffs. The White House has a backup plan. Here's One America's Taylor Tinsley.
Treasury Secretary Scott Benson says the administration has a few tricks up its sleeve, hinting officials have come up with some backup plans should the Supreme Court strike down President Trump's sweeping tariffs. This comes after a 7-4 ruling from a U.S. appeals court said most of his tariffs were illegal. The administration is confident the Supreme Court will uphold Trump's authority to issue duties using a 1977 law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. President Trump says his tariffs have brought more than $15 trillion into the U.S., and terminating them would turn America into a third world nation. Treasury Secretary Scott Benson said the tariffs are a national emergency, working to help massive trade deficits.
We've had these gigantic trade deficits, and I tell you, they were heading toward financial ruin. President Trump has stepped in before we hit the financial calamity. That's why this is an emergency.
Recent numbers from the Commerce Department showed the deficit in goods grew by over 22% in July, from nearly $85 billion to more than $103 billion. Senior trade advisor Peter Navarro emphasizes the tariffs also aim to stop the deadly amount of fentanyl flowing into the U.S.
It's unconscionable that communist China, in league with the Mexican and Canadian drug cartels, are killing Americans with fentanyl and now this new designer drug, it's called nitidine. And if that's not a national emergency, I don't know what is.
Benson told Reuters he was preparing a legal brief underscoring the urgency of addressing the trade deficit and fight against fentanyl. He says he's confident the Supreme Court will uphold the president's authority to use IEEPA. There are lots of other authorities that can be used. Section 338 of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1939, for example, allows the president to impose up to 50% tariffs against countries discriminating against U.S. commerce for 5 months. The court's order wouldn't officially go into effect until October 14th, which is how long the administration has to file an appeal. Taylor Tinsley, One America News.
Looking for news that actually tells the truth, not just the headlines they want you to hear? Then it's time to sign up for OAN Live. It's your go-to source for unfiltered news, sharp debate, and 5 hard-hitting political talk shows, including my show, Real America with Dan Ball. You can watch live anytime, anywhere. No noise, no nonsense, just real reporting and bold conversations that matter to you and your family. You can sign up for OAN Live now to see the truth unfold, and you can catch Real America every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just go to live.onn.com. Again, that's live.onn.com and sign up today and start watching every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern.